Welcome to this webinar about how to virtualize business critical applications. So first of all, we're going to have an agenda. It's going to be roughly a 30 minutes overview about what is an application tier one. And then this audience will be users and partners today. We're going to talk about how to define and understanding the demands of the tier one applications, how Symfony V optimizes the storage underneath. Then we're going to talk about real life examples, and at the end, of course, the questions. So, what to define applications tier one, and obviously, when you talk about applications tier one, you think about straight away applications. Okay, Oracle, Exchange, SAP, SharePoint, SQL. However, everything critical for your business is tier one. It could be telephone over IP or any kind of disk, very critical for your applications. So there are no guidelines about what is tier one or not. However, when you think about critical applications, all the time they ask more from storage. So as you can see on this chart, they need more accessibility. So you need to be able to access 24/7 your applications. There are scalability. So if you start with one node or one application, and if you want to add some resources, or you want to put this resource as a cluster, you need to be able to add on virtual disks or physical disks. Also, when you talk about critical applications, you have to think about speed. So all the time you talk about how fast my applications should run, and you think about, should I put my tier one application on SATA drives or not, or SSD or SAS? And of course, flexibility. So when you talk about SharePoint, SQL, Exchange, you need to think about, oh, do I need to put on this hardware, on that hardware? So those applications are 100% based on software. So in reality, you should be able to install them regardless the vendor or hardware vendor you want to install them to. But you've got a lot of hesitation about where to put it and how to put it. Why? It's very simple. Because our fear drags us into two sides: slowness and erratic. So basically, when you put your tier one application on the hardware, you think about all the time, I need to put on my fastest equipment on my IT infrastructure. So if you want to have performance, don't share your hardware with other databases in your data center, because in this case, you are sure you will have 100% of the bandwidth. But also the erraticness. So basically, if you do have a problem across the board, or if you need to change hardware, does it impact my production? Is my tier one application up and running? And do I affect the performance? So this is why we see still now, even nearly 100% of the databases and or applications are capable to be virtualized. Sometimes when we talk about tier one applications, we talk about performance, and nobody wants really to put them on a shared drive or shared disk across the IT infrastructure. So in this case, you have to maintain a special disk space or RAID array for high performance critical. Then you need to have another disk space and RAID array for non-critical. So basically, there's again a fear about, if I put all my eggs in the same basket, I could have a slow data center and my tier one applications could run into a problem. And of course, for you, it's very complicated because you're going to run two sets of hardware maintaining the same IT infrastructure, but you need to decide what is tier one and what is not tier one. So sometimes it's also very expensive because you need to oversize or undersize what is not tier one or tier one. So in this webinar, we're going to talk about why and how virtualizing virtual disks towards the tier one applications. Why and how virtualize applications? First of all, if you think about before the virtualization, regardless if it was the VDI hyper servers or storage hyper servers, you think about now, when you talk about virtualization, first of all, you think about consolidation. So all the disks or virtual disk will be in 1, 2, 3 big servers. It could be Hyper-Vs, it could be ESX or Citrix Xen servers, or even Oracle servers. But now you need to achieve higher service levels. So you need like functionalities like auto-tiering. You need to have snapshots, CDPs, which are totally not out of the box and obviously driven by storages. Then you talk about performance. So you need to have a mechanism to acknowledge IOs, acknowledge to the applications. And of course, when you talk about critical applications, you need a fast acknowledgement. The other side, you need to reduce servers because obviously it was a great return on investment about talking about virtualization. In the past, you had one server equals one application. Now you could have one physical server holding many virtual applications, or tier ones or not. But now you need to, when you consolidate and put a lot of data in one place, you need to have a better continuity. So this is why we're going to talk about business continuity. And of course, in this time, we're going to talk about reducing cost, for the virtualization. When we talk about virtualization and obviously tier one application, first thing you think is IO bottlenecks. And this is the first major obstacles you have to lift up because every time when we talk about the administrator for databases or for websites, they want the fastest. So they want RAID 1 versus RAID 5. So in the end, you need to provide them what they want, but it costs a lot of money to reshape your storage underneath because they may need a specific speed for one project, but you need to hold 50% of, if you talk about RAID 1, of the capacity for this RAID 1 project. On top of it, you have to think about equipment downtime. So when you think about reshaping your storage or adding more RAM or adding more CPU or adding simply equipment, you may need to have downtime to think about tier one applications. So this is why nobody wants to do it during daytime. Then the last one is facility outages. So these days, hardware is fairly stable, but if you do have a power problem or air conditioning problem, you may have an unplanned downtime. And of course, if you talk about tier one applications, you need to think about IO bottlenecks, equipment downtime, and also facility outages. So now, if you concentrate on what we do best, it's virtualization. We can recognize as three layers. The first one and the oldest one, which is the top one, is the VDI. So we talk about software. We could talk about Microsoft, Citrix, Xen Server. Then if we go down one layer, we talk about server hypervisor. And again, we see the same competitors like such Microsoft, search VMware, search Citrix, and Oracle now. So there's two layers. When you think about VMware and Citrix and Microsoft, you think about software. Now, sometimes when we talk about storage virtualization, you tend to think about hardware. But in reality, if you think about hardware, all the hardware vendors, they do use a software to virtualize storage. Now, talking about storage provided by DataCore, we are software again, and we can virtualize any kind of disks, i.e. it could be the new disks flash, such as Fusion IO, Ramsan, Texas Instruments, STEC, or any kind of disks. It could be SSD drives, it could be SAS drives, it could be SATA drives, or nearline SAS. And we can virtualize disks from high-end RAID arrays, middle-range RAID arrays, or low-end RAID arrays. So effectively, DataCore can virtualize any kind of disks, physical, virtual, to applications. They could be on hypervisors, they could be on physical servers, they could be on desktops. In reality, in 2013 and 2012, when we've done some surveys, and of course, we realized the performance was critical, out of 100% of your data center, just 10% need high-speed disks, and 90% they don't need high-speed disks. So basically, if you had to put some classes into disks, 10% could run on SSDs, 30% could run on SAS, and 60% could run on SATA drives. So with mechanisms such auto-tiering like SSD, flash, SAS, SATA, or cloud storage, you can gain and use this mechanism into your database, into your data center already. However, sometimes you want to have a specific performance on specific virtual disks or applications. DataCore can do it. And of course, I will explain how do we do it. ESG is a lab who's done validation, and what they've done a comparison with the same hardware. They've used physical hardware, then they virtualize the hardware, and they, at the end of the day, a lab validation found out for Exchange, for instance, we were able to accept 5 times more IOPS per second than a physical server. So basically, we have the same physical server, but when they've got virtual disks powered by DataCore Symphony V, the performance was multiplied by 5. And I will explain in a minute how do we do it. But if you read this ESG lab validation onto our website, datacore.com, you will see they've done more than one test, and they've validated SQL, Exchange, file share, file server, streaming media. And in all cases, we were above the average. And in some cases, we were multiplying by 6.4 the improvement compared to physical. So we can say easily DataCore can enable and authorize more performance out of the physical hardware. Why? How do we do it? It's very simple, because we sit on physical servers powered by either Windows 2008 or now 2012, and it's DataCore takes the power of all the latest technology in this hardware. So what we can say, and the ESG lab results was faster after virtualization with using the same hardware. the performance is driven by DataCore and by the storage behind us, of course. So in order to improve performance, DataCore has developed mechanism in writes and reads. So basically, DataCore sits on physical servers, which has got the latest technology, latest CPU, latest RAM, and as you can see, the average response time is way below what can bring a RAID array or a disk drive. Then we can sit on the server on servers up to 1 TB of RAM for cache. So now, when we talk about performance, all the time you think about cache, but think about a RAID array having 1 TB cache. It's great for performance, but also DataCore has created two ways of thinking. The first one is the write coalesce, and the second one is prefetch read. So I will explain first the write coalesce. When we talk about writes, if you can and have monitored your data center, you think about how many IOPS per second I need, and of course, you need to have a ratio. What is reads versus writes? 100%, you are fairly close about 64K blocks max, unless you are in the streaming or media business. And the next one is the prefetch read. So you are between 70% reads and 30% writes. So in order to help for the writes, the real life today is between 6 kilobytes and 64, and the average is about random writes. If you talk about real performance and performance testing, everything is all the time driven by big blocks, which is nothing to compare versus small blocks. And every time when you got better performance, it's all the time out of sequential. Think about what I said earlier. In your database, in your data center, it's small blocks and random. So basically, it's totally opposite to what the RAID array expects. So what DataCore does in the background is we coalesce write. So basically, we write bigger blocks up to 1 megabyte, and we pass on to the cache on the storage, and the storage is writing sequentially into the RAID array. So in this case, what we do have is DataCore is helping for the writes. On the other side, you've got prefetch read. So basically, we are capable to anticipate the next blocks to be read. So for instance, if you are reading the block number 2, we are capable within DataCore to load block number 1 and block number 3. So in this case, what we're doing, we are anticipating the reads mechanism. So we've got a fast write and a fast read. So this is how we acknowledge all the IOs very quickly to the applications and, of course, the tier 1 applications. So because we are software, we are capable to adapt our behavior according to your setup, your layout. So it means we are capable to scale up. So we can go to larger platforms and more efficiency because you will have more ports, more processors, more cache, more RAM into the DataCore servers. But if you want to have more scale out, you need to you can add more nodes. So we can go up to 8 nodes now with the latest DataCore version. You can develop more IOPS per second, and everything will be physically separated. So you can create a physical pool for your Oracle database, and you can create a physical pool for your ISO. So the hardware will not be in common in terms of disks. And of course, we can consolidate over a long distance the tier 1 applications. So how DataCore treat the RAID array? It's a special way. So basically, when you think about DataCore is a hypervisor above the storage. And we are software, so we can be installed on any kind of hardware. A kind of vendor, it could be a Dell server, it could be an HP server, it could be a Fujitsu, it could be a NEC, an HP. Regardless, we need to have CPU, RAM, and in and out capabilities. So either fiber channel HBAs or NIC cards for network. Then we're going to dedicate special resources to it. So you're going to say, okay, my port number 1 will talk to applications. My port number 2 will talk about for replication. And my port number 3 to storage. So you're going to dedicate resources, which is not the case for hardware RAID arrays, because sometimes they are sharing resources. Then we need to add more RAM, more CPU. And if you put DataCore on the latest Windows 2012, you can go to 1 terabyte RAM, of course, if your hardware can accept it, as a standard Windows. And because we can adjust our behavior, we can sense across infrastructure if we can adopt and adjust our behavior according to your specs. So you can create special storage profiles now with DataCore and Symfony V version 9. And this way, we can dynamically adjust the behavior according to iSCSI and or fiber channel, but also we can adjust our behavior according to physical disks. So it could be flash disks, it could be SAS drives, SSDs, or SATA drives. Now, in terms of layout, DataCore can virtualize all those disks regardless, so SSD, flash, high-end, speed range, inexpensive, but also we can be installed on physical servers, and DataCore will virtualize the storage inside the virtual servers. Then we're going to bring virtual disks to either physical servers on the left, so it could be your AIX, HP UX, Mac, Linux, whatever, which is not yet virtualized, or on the right, any kind of virtualized applications on hypervisors such as Hyper-V, VMware, on Citrix. So DataCore can bring caching and redundancy regardless if your applications are sitting on physical servers or virtual servers. So now, if you are interested to see and view PDFs about customers and testimonials, on our website, we do have various customers around the world stating the same outcome, if you want. So Meet Media in Sweden, it's newspapers, printing, and media. They say better performance than local disks. So they're using as Oracle and Exchange. So basically, in their case, they are using the latest technologies where you can put DataCore on physical servers, and DataCore enhance the speed for the physical servers. So they're stating better performance than local drives. Another company is Bitburger, which is one of the Germany largest beer brewers. And they say DataCore serves SAP, the SCSI 3 users at the speed better than legacy systems. So basically, again, when you are using the latest technologies, like such as Oracle PGR or SAP R3, DataCore is capable to deliver speed. And something which is very important to explain, DataCore has got no grid or no compatibility list on which database or which applications are tested. Okay, we are just virtual drives. So if you can install your virtual drives, if you can install your application on the physical or virtual drives, it's not a problem for DataCore. Another one is Port of Auckland in New Zealand, and they put far more virtual machines and far IOPS. Why? Because with virtualization mechanism for VDisks, for instance, what we can do is detect how many IOPS we need and how many disk space we need. And DataCore can bring on the fly statistics and adjust with auto-tiering, for instance, which media is the best media for the IOs. Another one is AppNet. AppNet says DataCore doubled the performance of the EMC SAN. So basically, EMCs or any kind of SAN has got very powerful capabilities. But if you put DataCore in front of it, so it means a lot of RAM, a lot of CPU, the capability of transfer, of treating IOs and everything is far more efficient. So it means the EMC or any kind of RAID array will have to manage less load, and because DataCore is taking all the load. Another one is the MLS says, since we started using DataCore on storage virtualization for our tier 1 applications, okay, we got back on track with our virtualization project because sometimes you need a faster disk, more expensive, so you need to have a special projects being on hold in order to gain money. But it says also, before that, IO bottlenecks and the pesky outages were hitting us on every turn. So basically now, not only performance was produced by DataCore, but also, as you can see in red, more SQL transactions and what they say, and they had 300% more SQL transactions on the same hardware. And on top of it, it's redundant on disk pools, and you can expand, upgrade without taking users down. So as you can see, is not only performance will be brought by DataCore, but also more services. And the services are obviously faster. So don't hesitate to put your virtualized tier 1 applications. It could be also a continuous availability 24/7. So we talk about performance. We talk about peace of mind for high availability. Also, because we are in terms of $1, €1 is very, very, very costly, you're going to spend less time and money on storage, because regardless the storage you're going to choose behind DataCore bring the service. So we're going to talk about DataCore as disk as a service, then migrations. And regardless your project, you will need to buy and purchase the disk you need. And what we are seeing right now is tenders where all the customers now tend to have two tenders. One for the virtualization software, it could be storage and hypervisors for servers, and another tender for hardware for the disks. And of course, if we are fast and continuous availability and less money, we're going to have the capability and the possibility to have more flexible and be competitive in terms of pricing, but also you may, but this possibility to virtualize all your tier 1 applications, because you've got no doubt about the performance and also the high availability. So it means you can reduce also the square meter and the British thermal unit for air conditioning, and also power for energy. So our software is shaped and designed for all the businesses, regardless your size. So we do have applications running for very small customers, less than 500 gig, when you've got, for instance, just one database with one phone over IP. Then you can be a mid-size SMB or larger, or even a cloud service provider. Now, if you think about virtualization and think about virtual disk and virtual desktops and virtual applications, why not virtualizing your tier one applications? So this webinar is all finished. So I leave you a few minutes to type your questions if you do have some questions. Then, of course, we're going to do end of March a webinar about disaster recovery projects. So don't hesitate to register for this webinar. So we leave you for a few minutes to your questions. So please type your questions into the box, and I will try to reply to all the questions if I do have. I see some questions coming now. And if you do have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me.